Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Federalist. This is dated something that the page down function doesn't want me to see, so we will use the mouse. It says, from March 26th. It says, Senate Dems claim censorship industrial complex never happened, and if it did, it was a good thing. And this reminds me of what is the whole thing with Democrats is you see those rules, there's 4 of them, where number 1 is it didn't happen. Number 2 is, if it did, it was a good thing. It keeps going on like that. And then finally it's oh no, it was fine. What we did was right or something like that. You can go find it, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. But I just thought this was interesting because it's just these Democrats to be they're hey, that thing, yeah, it's bad. And then Republicans bring it up as hey, that's a bad thing. And they're it wasn't the real thing. Let's go ahead and do it. All right. So it says, at a Senate Judiciary hearing, Democrats can't help but admit they support government censorship of free speech. Because, of course, they do. We saw this during the Biden administration when they were trying to come up with that, was it Nina Jankowicz-led organization, the Ministry of whatever the heck it was, that got shut down when people were what the hell is this BS? Anyway, enough babbling. Let's get into it. The Democrats had a tough time at a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee hearing yesterday on the censorship industrial complex. They had to argue that there was never any censorship during the Biden administration, including during COVID, and that free speech and freedom of the press were never threatened by their partnership of government agencies with private institutions to combat disinformation. By the way, if you want to know what the word is for partnership of government agencies with private institutions, there's a specific word for that leftists like to use that they try to call people on the right. They like to spray paint on Teslas these days and on their little signs protesting outside Teslas because they don't actually know what it means. Starts with the fa and ends with the schist. So, yeah, and all this stuff, it's guys, we remember, we witnessed this. We what the frick, almost just pulled out the F word there, but it's guys, come on. We remember all this happening. So anyway, it says, after all, the government was just trying to catch foreign disinformation operations, they argued, so any censorship that did happen was necessary and proper. Bull crap. Let's put it another way, the censorship industrial complex never happened, and if it did, it was a good thing, and the targets deserved it, of course, because that's how it goes. Says at one point early on in the hearing, Senator Peter Welch, Democrat of Vermont, so he's the other senator from Vermont besides Bernie, says more or less came right out and said as much. While the staff displayed a large placard showing a screenshot of a piece I wrote in February 2023, I being the author of the article, not me, Jason, it's about the Twitter files, and I'm going to come back in a second, so that must be this right here. Says, with not true stamped across a screenshot in red letters, and guys, there's no A in the letter or in the word red for the color. It says Welch claimed that there was nothing whatsoever to the Twitter files story. Government funding that went to private entities for disinformation monitoring, he said, was actually to help counter foreign disinformation. All the government did, in Welch's telling, was alert Twitter when users violated the company's own terms of service and community guidelines. Nothing to see here. Again, dude, we were there, we saw this, we know you're lying. It's as simple as that. And this dude just comes out because he's a Democrat and he's nah, it didn't happen. It's trying to Jedi mind trick you to be nope, didn't happen. You're I remember it happening. It says, if anything is not true in all capital letters, it's this absurd characterization of what the Twitter files actually revealed. Released in tranches to a group of journalists shortly after Elon Musk bought Twitter in 2022, the Twitter files exposed a coordinated and sustained effort by the intelligence community to co-opt and deputize social media platforms like Twitter into censoring American citizens. Again, go look up the word for what that is. Because basically, it was a scheme to allow the government to censor Americans in a way that would have been straightforwardly unconstitutional if the feds had tried to do it directly. Right, and they were behind the scenes trying to do it. It says the Hunter Biden laptop story is a prime example of how this worked. Long before the New York Post published its first bombshell scoop on the laptop in October 2020, there had been an organized effort by the intelligence community to discredit leaked information about Hunter Biden. I mean, we all remember that too. It says, why? Because the FBI had been in possession of the laptop since the previous December when the agency seized it from a computer repair shop in Delaware. The FBI already knew the laptop contained damning evidence of the younger Biden's criminal activity, ranging from illegal drug use to foreign corruption and influence peddling on behalf of his father. The FBI and the intelligence community knew all of this might come out ahead of the presidential election, so for months it had been priming top officials at Twitter and Facebook to dismiss news reports about Hunter Biden as hack and leak operations by hostile foreign actors. The FBI had even established a special one-way communications channel with Twitter to send documents to the company about supposed foreign disinformation, and that's what I was thinking about before, was that the government was trying to do it, and that'd be the FBI being the government, is that they had these back channel things going on. So as part of this setup, the FBI arranged for top Twitter officials to get special security clearances so the agency could share intelligence about possible foreign threats to the upcoming presidential election. Of course, this was all a ruse to groom and pressure Twitter into censoring the Hunter Biden laptop story when it inevitably appeared, which is exactly what the company did, along with Facebook and every major media outlet in America. Welch was either totally unaware of this background or simply chose to clumsily misrepresent it. He was similarly dishonest or out of his depth when discussing other aspects of the censorship industrial complex, displaying an almost comical level of naivete about how online censorship works. So take his characterization of NewsGuard, for example. NewsGuard is a for-profit company linked to the big pharma firms like Pfizer that contracts with the federal government and other institutional clients to rate themselves. Oh God, I lost my spot. I looked over at my TV for a second. Gosh darn it. To rate themselves, there we go. To rate the trustworthiness of news sites based on the completely arbitrary criterion. Again, we're talking about NewsGuard before my brain went weird there. So as has been widely reported, the company consistently promotes corporate media outlets as generally reliable that have been the most unreliable and deceptive on everything from COVID to the Hunter Biden laptop story to the Russia collusion hoax, while rating sites like The Federalist, which you're reading right now, which accurately reported those stories as unreliable. Yeah, NewsGuard is not a reliable source. It's run by a bunch of left-wingers, so no, it is definitely not a reliable source. All right. Excuse me. It says, yet Welch described NewsGuard as a firm that provides transparency and reliability ratings so that advertisers can make informed decisions about where to spend their money, as if he were reading directly from a pamphlet written by NewsGuard's marketing team. I don't mean to pick on Welch, who came across like a man who barely had a chance to read his canned corporate talking points before the hearing began, but his attitude is representative of Democrats' general view of online censorship, which is that it's not happening, but if it is, then it's a good thing. This is a hard case for Senate Democrats to make on Tuesday, in part because the evidence of a robust censorship industrial complex targeting First Amendment protected speech is, at this point, overwhelming. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It's kind of just like, yeah, we know what's happening, guys, we can see it. It says it didn't help Democrats that at least one victim of government censorship, it says my colleague Molly Hemingway, who's I think the senior editor at The Federalist, or she's like the number 2 or he might even be the number 1 person at The Federalist. So she testified at the Tuesday hearing. And this was Tuesday. This would have been the 25th of March. It says in her opening statement, Hemingway explained how we at The Federalist have been targeted as a publication and as individuals for reporting facts and expressing our political opinions which the Biden administration and the federal censorship bureaucracy didn't like. The censorship has been highly selective, she explained, sparing outlets like the Washington Post and New York Times, both of which were awarded Pulitzers for spreading the Russia collusion hoax after Trump's victory in 2016. And, quote, this is from Molly Hemingway saying, my publication, The Federalist, exposed that hoax through dogged reporting and investigation, as we did with the media's vicious lies against Justice Brett Kavanaugh, said Hemingway. We exposed much of the censorship industrial complex too, even suing the State Department after discovering its role in promoting and marketing censorship tools that are being used against us even as we sit here today. What's kind of frightening, because that is absolutely unconstitutional, it seems, says that lawsuit against the State Department came after revelations that Hemingway and my colleague, again, the author of the article, so Sean Davis, who is the other number 1 or 2 person at The Federalist next to Molly Hemingway, says they were both personally targeted in 2020 by a federal censorship operation run by Stanford University in partnership with the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, and Global Engagement Center, or GEC, which fall within the Department of Homeland Security and the State Department, respectively. Welch and his Democrat colleagues are either well aware of these facts and have simply chosen to misrepresent them, or they are among the dumbest and least informed Americans in the country. And the author says, I say that because of this and much more has been a matter of public record for years now. No serious person disputes the existence of these censorship programs and operations, which are often housed at universities that provide disinformation research the government then uses to throttle free speech and debate. Nor does anyone in good faith deny that these censorship operations overwhelmingly target conservatives and right-of-center publications that challenge official narratives and prevailing orthodoxies. The reason all this matters, and why Senate Republicans held a hearing about it this week, is that Democrats don't really see a problem with using the government to censor Americans, and they will do it again just as soon as they're back in power. That's correct. They're just going to go right back to what they were, and COVID was like a convenient excuse for them to go ahead and try something, and they got away with it for a bit, and now this guy, and like it says in the final sentence, basically either he just didn't know this actually happened, or he's lying, which neither option makes him look particularly good, and doesn't make Democrats look good either. But anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.